Hey there, my Dash Blitz Boosty Boost peeps. So with the release of Everfest, is it perhaps time to eschew the traditional Hyperdriver extra energy build in favor of a new toy? That's right, today I'm talking about what I'm dubbing, wait for it, DashPound Boost. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Andrew with you here as always. Thanks very much for checking in for this is going to be a super fun one, at least for me. I'm having a ton of fun just with the name on this one. It's like, I'm like dad joke proud of it, right? So just filling you in on the joke if you don't get it. Those of us who grew up with the hashtag, right? The hashtag used to be called the pound sign. So there's kind of a running joke out there calling it the hash pound. And anyway, dash pound booth. Anyway, I'm so witty. Yeah, what can I say? All right, so shall we get into this already? Now, tonight's cast is sponsored by our friends over at FabBB. You guys are all well aware that they are the best source that we have online for Flesh and Blood, deck list, collect and management, pricing, everything you want over there. Head on over there, upgrade your account, unlock a whole bunch of features. I just learned the other day you can actually set custom card backs in the settings tool if you're going to download it to TTS. I never knew that. I always wondered how people got it. Now I know, right? Just one more cool thing that you can do over there. So thank you to our friends over at FabDB. All right, so the background of this cast actually harkens back to we had Matthew Fritz on here. He'd won a couple of our Gongai Blitz tournaments running what at the time I was calling Dash Boosty Boost Blitz, right? And that's basically just running all mech cards and just going shaboom, 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 right? You guys get it. I mean, there's not a lot of art to it. One of the great, there's smart in play about it, but in terms of building the deck, you kind of cram a whole bunch of good stuff mech cards in there. You try and get your sequences a little better. You hit a max velocity if you can. That ended up being kind of hard to do. But either way, went from there. So I do recommend you go over and check out that video. That deck list I'm showing up right now over here actually is Matthew's deck from back then. And what we're going to be using tonight is this deck as a framework because it did perform well. So I want to use this deck as a framework, but then put it in context of what we're actually talking about, which is looking at the Teklo Pounder. Right? So Teklo Pound, as well as some other stuff that came out in Everfest, like, I don't know, T-Bone, which seems pretty good. So the primary function of using Hyperdriver instead of traditionally with Dash and CC, you use Induction Chamber, but in this Boosty Boost build, you would use the Hyperdriver. The idea being there that for 3 turns, you were going to get 1 extra energy. Now, the question I'm asking tonight, and the theory crafting I've had with this, and yes, I've played some Felt Table games with it. It feels pretty good initially, but Felt Table's not a real opponent, right? So excited to get this on the table for real. So the Teklo Pounder enters the arena with 3 steam counters on it. When Teklo Pounder has no steam counters on it, destroy it. Pretty standard. Now, this is a 2-drop, which means that Dash can start with it in play. Once per turn effect, whenever you boost an attack action card, remove a steam counter from Teklo Pounder, and if you do, the attack gains +2. Right, so there's a couple things here. First, I want to point out that it is the first one, so you need to make sure that you're sequencing your boost correctly, right? Boosting into what becomes basically a 3-block isn't going, right? So if you're boosting a 4 to make it a 6, that's a bad that's a bad play. Right, so we're just going to, you guys pick up what I'm laying down, right? With that +2, it's non-optional, so you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it that you think you can based on the card that you have, right? And then the next part of this is, does the 6 damage, because that's what this generates. This generates 6 damage. Does that 6 damage offset the 3 resources that you would get from Hyperdriver? That's basically the question of, is this valuable or not? Now, inherently, given the generic curve of 1 for 3 in this game, right? 1 resource for 3 attack is generally the curve. And of course, that changes, based on other stuff like Go Again and hit effects and stuff like that, right? But generally it's 1 for 3. So if you do just the quick rough math on this, Teklo Pounder does not outpace Hyperdriver. That said, it also depends on what you're running in the deck. Now, if you were to look at the old deck where it was running a lot of 2s, because Mech has a whole suite of 2s, right? Overloop, Throttle, Combustible Courier, Overblast, right? All those in there, right? So all those 2s, and if you're running a bunch of 2s, I think Hyperdriver makes more sense. But in this set, we got T-Bone, right? And we also got Rotary Ram. So what I'm showing up now is we now have the option to run more zeros. And can you imagine as Mech keeps getting more and more zeros that this would actually be more viable? That's actually pretty exciting, right? But we're going to run a full suite of T-Bones, which means that we get to drop 6 2s from the deck. So that helps us a little kind of, we're not recovering the trade for the 2 for the 3 there. But what we are doing is we're less needing of the resource, right? Does that make sense? And then there's also Rotary Ram. Now, Rotary Ram's very interesting. I like the red and the blue here. It's very interesting because if you use it, it goes on the bottom of your deck, right? So you're not pumping your first one, which you would, if you're thinking about, well, Teklo's +2, I could Rotary Ram into the +2 into whatever I'm playing and throw a pretty big attack, only to be backed up by some other zeros or something. It's a nice combo, and you certainly could do it, but you're going to get more mileage out of Rotary Ram if you play it on like your second attack, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing here in terms of the chain. Is like, all right, I can play, a 0 to 60 or a T-Bone or something like that for free right out of the gate, and then get its +2. They'll take a couple damage, maybe block something. It's Blitz, and it feels like nobody's blocking these days, but you never know, right? But the point is here, Rotary Ram can back up on that second one. And the reason I like the red and the blue is the blue does its pitch thing and it adds 1. The Rotary Ram is the +3. And I always like the +3 because that's a full card, right? Rotary Ram here is giving you a full card. Because it's the 0 for 3, right? It's giving you a full card effect and it goes back on the bottom of your deck, right? And Rotary Ram blue gives you the +1 and the same thing, but also gives you the 3 pitch, right? Now, the reason I don't necessarily like the yellow is because it gives you that +2, and if you go look at a lot, right, we have 0 4s, we have 1 4s in here. If you go look at that, putting it at a 6 doesn't necessarily help you in terms of, being a multiple of 3, right? So that's why I like the 0 3, I like the 0 1. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to try and fit these guys into the deck. All right, so again, I'm showing up one more time. So this is just the copy of Matthew's deck, and we're just going to use this, like I said, as a boilerplate. Now, the changes I want to make, you're seeing across the screen right now. Now, one thing I do want to address right out of the gate is, and this is going to be the one that I think is controversial. Now, I'm dropping max velocity, and you're like, whoa, but that was your play, right? You'd go boost, max velocity. I'll be honest, I never got it to work. I'm sure many of you guys out there did, and sure, the idea of boosting, and then being able to throw 10 is crazy good. Like, it's crazy good. I get it. But it was very hard because you have to go every turn, right, in this deck. That's how you end up playing this deck. So a lot of times we found that it was getting, and you can, in the video that Matthew did with us, he's actually like, be very careful with this. He's like, don't put it in your arsenal. It's going to get stuck there. Because of basically what I'm saying, a lot of times it'll end up just being a pitch or a defend card or something like that. And I felt that the Rotary Ram recycling and boosting on that was actually, that's the spot that I selected for Rotary Ram, for red. So we have 2 T-Bones, we have 2 high-speed impacts, and you will notice that I did all of these. All of these are usually listed alphabetically as the way that I make these, except that in this case it's not, because I wanted to point out, right, because I have the 2 side by side. I wanted to point out which ones I'm actually swapping, right, for the exact swap I'm making. Okay, so T-Bone times 2, high-speed impact times 2, 1 high octane, 1 Teklo Pounder, 2 locked and loaded, 2 Rotary Ram, 2 overloops, 2 throttles, 2 0-60s, 2 zipper hits, right? A lot of standard stuff in there. 2 T-Bones for yellow, 2 throttles, 2 0-60s, 2 zipper hits. And then for blue, we're actually +1 on that in terms of the total count. We are going with Combustible Courier there. That's really strong in blue because it has the same net effect. High-speed impact, T-Bone, Rotary Ram, throttle, 0-60, and zipper hit, all at 2s. Now, I didn't really touch the weapon, obviously, you're playing what you're playing. I didn't really touch the equipment suite, except I did basically add it out because there's no penalty to it in Blitz, right? Because you have those extra slots. So I wanted to make sure we had the hood and the gloves for Null Rune. Arcanite Skullcap, I have that, so I threw that in there. You can very easily just display some other helmet. And then also I've added Gamblers, which I just noticed I spelled wrong, but it is what it is, folks. So Gamblers gloves, you really have to play that these days because the KO rolliness, like you need the safety valve, right? So if you sit down versus KO, you just throw it on, and it's worth it versus the gauntlet. So anyway, that's the list. Like I said, I've had pretty good success with it. You know, a lot of the times, I mean, in the olden days, the old way of playing the deck, it was still pretty successful at getting 3 attacks off a turn, and then maybe charge a pistol, and then the next time you'd have 2 and maybe swing pistol, or whatever it may be. This time I've been having success getting a lot more damage through. And even though it doesn't necessarily close as fast because they have to be on the back foot, it's kind of interesting because in the old deck you'd basically go and they'd try to block out, right? Now because you're getting that extra 2, it puts them more on the back foot because it's really hard for them to block out and they lose more life. So that's just what I'm noticing, is that they drop faster, which puts them into protection mode. And that lets you, it basically has less of a penalty when you run out of gas. Those are my initial takes, and I'm really curious to know what you guys think about this, what other changes you think I can make. So please let me know in the comments below what you think of this idea, if it's even worth exploring. Yeah, let me know. Let me know what changes you may make, or maybe you're running the traditional build and maybe it's singing even better, and maybe there's no reason to touch it. So anyway, let me know, and yeah, we'll go from there. So again, thank you everyone for joining. If you're still looking for your singles from Everfest or anything else to help fill out your set, remember Travis over at Fab Foundry, really good guy. If you use the link below, I get a kickback when you order singles from him, which helps me keep my stuff going. I still got some stuff that I need to get, and looking for it. So, all right, well, with all that said, I want to thank everyone for joining me, and if nothing else, folks, go Commando.